Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, author, leadership, and team development speaker Joe Woodley, and this is another Key Moment for Faith. Thank you so much for joining me on today's broadcast. Make sure you click on the subscribe button down at the bottom of the screen. Like this video, like other videos on this channel. Share them with your friends, your family, your neighbors, the guy down the street around the corner, and even your enemies. And they may just happen to become your friend. Also, take a look in the description box where you're certainly sure to find something to help you on this journey we call faith. So today, guys, I want to talk to you really briefly about dignity in life and dignity in death. Walking in dignity in life and walking in dignity through death. You know, I was reading and watching the news that came out in regards to the passing of Chadwick Boseman. Young man, he's actually several months younger than I am. I thought about the health crisis that I faced several years ago. Mine was heart related. His had to do with cancer. You know, several months ago, there was a video that was up where he was doing a live feed and was talking about some things, and he was obviously ill in that video, and thought about how cruel people can be. Some of the comments that they were making about his appearance, where he was obviously sick, and people were like, you know, give that man a sandwich. Just really nasty remarks. And yet and still, even though those remarks were flying at him and he was being attacked and berated by people, he still walked in dignity. He didn't respond in kind. He didn't get into a Twitter war. His representatives didn't get into a Twitter war or feed or whatever. None of that stuff happened. He really just he continued to live his life. Most people never even knew that he was ill. Most people never even knew that he was battling cancer. I certainly, didn't know that. And it was, watching his movies, you looked at his films, there was no way that you would have known watching his films. He conducted himself and carried himself in a way that was dignified, that he kept himself above the fray. And that's a very different way of approaching life in today's social media driven society, social media driven culture, where in many ways it's very voyeuristic, it's self-absorbed, self-consumed, self-grandiorizing. It's all about me, myself, and I. Where kindness and caring and concern is often thrown out the window. Even when people do for others, they turn it into this big, huge social media event and say, "Look at me! Look what I'm doing! Look at all of this good that I'm doing in my community. Look at all the good I'm doing. But look at me while I'm doing stuff for them." You don't even, half the time, you don't even know who they're doing it for, because the cameras are so focused in on the individuals who are helping out or participating, whatever the campaign is. As I said, very voyeuristic, very self-consumed. And there's some lessons that we can learn from this as believers when we observe this, because again, in today's social media driven society where it's all about us, all about me, it's about self-promoting, self-grandiorizing, all of that stuff. And Jesus is so far from the forefront of our minds. Even when we talk about Jesus, it's always in regards to building ourselves up, not building him up. And I really believe that if you build the house of the Lord, that he's going to build your house, just as he told Solomon, "Build my house and I'll build yours." But many of us are more focused on building our own houses, and then Jesus can just be along for the ride. So there's some lessons that we can garner from what we have seen in his life as believers. You know, Chadwick often talked about God and often spoke about purpose. And there's many videos out there where he talks about purpose and finding purpose in your life and living a purposeful life. And there's one in particular where he talked about purpose will take you beyond just a job or a career. There's something bigger. You know, there's something bigger that's out there that's waiting for you, that God has much larger plans for your life than what you're doing in the current moment. He didn't advertise everything that was going on in his life. You know, I see so many of us, every aspect of our lives is on social media. I ate a hamburger today. I ate a cheeseburger today. I clipped my toenails today. I cleaned my ears today. I picked my nose today. Every single little detail and every nuance. There's no privacy anymore. There's no dignity in life anymore. No dignity in life, because it's flashed. Everything we are and everything we do is flashed before the world so that the world can see us. When, as believers, our job and our responsibility is not about having the world to see us. It's about the world seeing Jesus through us. It's all consuming. It's a total, complete lack of dignity in life. We put things online for shock value. We have statements that we put online for shock values. We post pictures online for the shock value. We do all this stuff for shock value, so that all the attention is drawn to us and the attention is pulled away from Jesus. We say we're doing it for Jesus, but the fact of the matter is our actions indicate that it's really not about Jesus. It's all about us. It's all about making us feel good. It's all about lifting us up. Again, as I said, very voyeuristic and self-consumed. And so here he was walking in this, and he's building up these causes. He was just a mouthpiece in many cases for causes in regards to cancer. Again, I didn't know, and many of you didn't know what he was doing, where he postures himself as being a mouthpiece. Even though he was famous, he was known worldwide, particularly after he made the Black Panther movie, and he played the character in various Marvel movies. He would step back and say, you know what, I'm going to use my talents and my gifts and my fame to put forward, to promote a cause that's greater than me. I don't want this to be about me. I'm going to promote a cause that's greater than me. And how many of us as believers, as professed believers, conduct ourselves in that way before? As I said, a complete loss of dignity. Everything, our whole lives are exposed before the world. There has to be some privacy in your life. There's got to be something that's kept just for you. That's got to be sacred. There's got to be something sacred in your life just for you and God. Something sacred in your life for just you and your family. Something sacred in the life for the people who are closest to you. There's got to be something sacred there, reserved just for them, just for those private moments. But somewhere along the line, we've lost track of that, and everything is exposed. Everything is just exposed. The world has full view of everything in our life, every failure, every shortcoming, every glorious moment, every sad moment, every happy moment. Everything is just out there. There's no more dignity. It's okay to put videos out and share happy moments, and I believe that's wonderful. I take joy in watching those videos. I take joy in making those videos. But every part of my life can't be just exposed for the whole world to see. There's got to be something sacred, and we've lost that sacredness. We've lost that sacredness in our churches. Everything's just thrown out there, all out there for the world to see. No sacredness, no dignity. And even as he came closer to death, and people were making fun of him, people were casting stones and saying all of these horrific remarks and making all of these terrible statements, still walked in dignity. How many of us, when we are attacked, when people say things about us, we always have to have some kind of response. We have to have a response to what people are saying. You know, I've got to cut you worse than you cut me. I think about about believers in politics, and people say things, and we put some of the most horrific things online because we've got to have a response. As a believer, my response is no, that's not as a believer. It's as you and yourself, you and your own ego, you and your own self-grandirizing, you and your own attitude, you and your own of being offended, you and your own whatever. I've got to respond. I've got to say something, and I've got to cut them down just as much as they cut me down. And yet this man is coming closer and closer to death, and his comments are being made, and he did not make a statement. Yes, to protect his privacy of his family, but also to walk, to live in dignity and to die in dignity. And so I am challenged. I am forced to even evaluate myself. I am forced to look in the mirror. And I ask myself that question: am I living a life of dignity? And will I walk through death with dignity? We don't need to put everything out there for the world to see. And as believers, we have a responsibility to conduct ourselves in a way that is dignified, to operate above the fray, to operate above all of the mess and everything that's going on around the world, to conduct ourselves in a way where Jesus is the one who's getting the glory, where Jesus is the one who's getting the honor, where Jesus is the one who's getting the praise, to conduct ourselves in a way where he is exalted above every other name, where it's not all about us and every single cheeseburger we eat and every time we pick our nose and scratch our behind, but is God ultimately the one who's getting the glory? Is God ultimately the one who's getting the honor? Is God ultimately the one who's getting the praise in all of this? I would suggest to you that in many cases he is not. You know, everything that we do, we got to put out there to draw attention to us. Man, there's so much I want to say. There's so much I want to say about things that I've seen in church over the years. And I'm like, man, this ain't even about Jesus, man. It's all about, we made it all about us. And Jesus is kind of like, he's like somewhere tucked up on a shelf, and we pull his name out every once in a while when we want to add some credibility. You know, it's like people that do name dropping because they want to get something and they want to show how but they really don't have a relationship with the person. They maybe have met them once or twice, but they really don't have a relationship, but they just kind of like name drop. You know what I'm saying? They don't really hang out. They don't talk to them a whole lot. They just like name dropping. And that's how this thing is, man. And, rest in peace, Mr. Boseman. Yeah, rest in peace. We're all headed in that direction. So my prayer, guys, live in dignity and walk in dignity in a social media driven society. Reserve some privacy for yourself. Have something in your life that is sanctified and sacred. Don't show the world all your goodies. You know, when I see believers showing the world all their goodies, like, don't show the world all your good. They don't need to see that. They need to see Jesus and glorify him and put him first. So that's my prayer. That's my prayer, and that's my hope. We can live a dignified life through pain, through turmoil, through pleasure, through happiness. We can still live a dignified life. And as believers, that's what we should strive to do, because Jesus himself, Jesus was dignified. And I don't mean dignified as being uppity. But when people saw him, as he said, when people see me, they see the Father. And when they see the Father, they see me. And that's how you live a dignified life. God bless each and every one of you.